So for this special episode, I'll be going over my favorites, the best games of 2018. I'll do my top 3, and third place is Spider-Man. This PlayStation exclusive was developed by Insomniac, who made the Ratchet & Clank series and Sunset Overdrive. First announced over 2 years ago, back in 2016, there was a lot of hype for this game, and for the most part it delivers. The story is really good, and with it being a video game, there are a wide cast of characters, which is something that's not easy to do in other mediums like movies. The voice acting is good as well, especially the guy who voices Spider-Man, as he really captures the upbeat and quippy superhero, but can also have a range of emotions when needed. Gameplay wise, just swinging around the city feels great, and with the detail of the city, you can just relax, swinging around and seeing New York City. Combat is good, a bit like the combat from Batman Arkham series, with the quick hit combos and being able to have an array of gadgets to use. Also, the suits. There are so many suits, and it's great from the main suit to the suits from the movies and comics as well. They're all great. However, the reason why it's in third place is that the main downside is that the side quests and objectives, outside of the main story, are a bit boring and repetitive, something they can easily fix in a sequel. But that aside, Spider-Man is a great game with a fantastic campaign, fun gameplay, definitely play it. So, this is the big debate this year for games. Is Red Dead Redemption 2 or another game the true game of the year? For me, it's the other game, which I'll get into in a few minutes. But first and second place is Red Dead Redemption 2. This is developed by Rockstar Games and is the highly anticipated sequel to Red Dead Redemption back in 2010. For me though, I didn't play that game when it came out, and to make it a point, I did play it over the summer to get caught up, and I'm glad I did. Besides that game by itself being really good, it gave some context for some of the characters since this happens before that one. So the plot of the game for the most part is good, however if you take the time to do the side missions, the story becomes great. Like if you just do the bare minimum, you'll get a good story, but some of the side quests have some of the best scenes in the game that develops characters, especially your character, Arthur Morgan. Speaking of Morgan, he's now one of my favorite video game characters ever. The way he walks, the voice acting, how he behaves, and the small choices you have to influence how he behaves is all great. Now that is not to say it's at the cost of other characters. A lot of the characters in the gang are great in good and bad ways as well. Eileen Sadler, John Marston, and Dutch himself comes to mind. Gameplay though is where overall people are divided, with some considering it's annoying, but I like it. I like the way the controls work, as a lot of it's from GTA 5, and I like the controls from there as well. Though I would like not to have to keep slamming the X button to run, and I would prefer if my horse would not hit trees, and if he does, not run the risk of me or my horse dying. And while it was slightly annoying at times, I did appreciate and like Rockstar's attempt to be more realistic in a western setting. So you have to regularly eat to keep up your health and stamina recharge, with the same being for your horse as well. You can also clean your gun to keep its power and accuracy up as well. And there are other smaller animations such as opening up a catalog to buy items, or when you switch out your guns, the guns actually go in a way a holster or behind your back instead of just disappearing. The main downside for the game, however, is Red Dead Online. Now technically it is in a beta, and Rockstar does consider it to be a separate product, but I am counting them together as they are too similar not to be counted together. For Red Dead Online, unless you do the Showdown series of game modes, it's boring. Wandering around the map there's nothing much to do besides hunting or doing some free roaming missions, and some of those still glitch, which means you don't get to do the mission. Also money wise, it does take a bit of a grind to level up and make some money, but don't worry, you can always buy some of those gold bars, you know? Now I'm not saying it's bad. I've had some fun, but that's only really because I play with some friends. If you play solo, unless you want to play the game modes, it's not worth it right now. However, as a total package, campaign and multiplayer, it is very strong with a great story, characters, and a decent foundation for multiplayer that Rockstar can build upon. And now, my number one pick, which at this point should be kind of obvious, my game of the year is God of War. Now, I was kind of looking forward to this game before 2018, but if you told me it would be my favorite game of the year, I would have been shocked. So what did I enjoy about it? Well, everything. Let's start with the story and how it now focuses on Kratos trying to live in peace with his son Atreus. Now the first few games were based on Greek gods, but now it's up to Kratos, up against Nordic gods, and experience their world. Before this game, the only knowledge I had about Nordic mythology was from the Thor movies, so, not much. Now while the story is really good, it's not big, with only a few other characters that you interact with. But the smaller, more personal story works well here, as it allows some development to our duo protagonists. By the end of the game, I wanted the second one right away, and I became more interested in learning about Nordic mythology myself, and try in part to figure out what happens next. Now besides the story and the characters, combat just feels so good. Being able to use the axe as a boomerang, swinging it out and bringing it back feels great, along with combining that with heavy or light moves. This also goes without saying, but the game graphically looks amazing, and I also like the semi-open world the game had. Now I say semi-open because it's not like Red Dead where you can go whenever or wherever, but you can move around to different realms, and when you finish the game you can go back to where you went. To finish up, if I had a downside to this game, a small nitpick I had was that there could have been a few more different enemies to fight, as some of them were blatantly obvious just to be a reskin, but never mind that. God of War is a game that deserves to be played with its great story and gameplay. This is being named Game of the Year from a lot of publications, for a reason. And with the reasons I just mentioned, it's my Game of the Year as well. The sequel cannot come fast enough. This is it for my best games of 2018. I look forward to playing more new games in 2019. Fingers crossed for Last of Us Part 2, please. Thanks for watching.